ended at a very abrupt spot. Yeah, okay. Let me start again. Just one second. Yeah. I'll just share screen. Okay, wait. Danta, we're going to read for half hour more.
Bonus.
Yeah. Okay, sorry everybody. We have half hour more. I thought we were time out.
No,
Please.
no worries. No worries.
Okay, I shall just finish this and pass it on to somebody. Nearly 3 years would pass after Homi's death before I was to see Baba again. This time at the February Sahavas of 1958, during this period, I felt a great change in my attitude toward and my love for Baba. He had become the very center of my life. First came Baba, then my husband and family. Formerly, when any orders regarding fasting or silence had come from Baba, I had observed the orders. Betty, can you take it from here? Thank you.
Without question, but always with the thought, will I be able to do this? And if the order involved a long period of time, I felt a sigh of relief when the time ended. But now it became a pleasure to follow whatever Baba asked of us. And Adi and I actually looked forward to Baba's orders. Our attitude toward life also changed. Having Homi taken from us had led us to cease worrying about events and circumstances that would have upset us in the past. We accepted what came, knowing that whatever happens is Baba's will. The 1958 Sahabas was the first time men and women had been called together for a Sahabas in Mehrabad. Previously, these occasions had been just for men. Only those invited by Baba could attend. Can you scroll up a bit? And Adi was called to come early and help out, as tents had to be set up to accommodate those attending. Women and men um, were to be lodged separately, but one huge tent would serve as a meeting hall and another as a dining room. Adi departed from Mehrabad, leaving me and Merwan in Panchgani, where we stayed with friends. Merwan, who was then 10 years old, had very much wanted to attend the Sahabas with us. When he found out that children were not to be allowed at this gathering, he wrote a letter to Baba protesting the fact that he had not been invited. He soon received the following reply from Erich. My dear Merwan, your very sweet letter was received and was read out to beloved Baba. Your letter made Baba feel very happy. Baba says that you are very dear to him. All children who remember Baba and love him are fortunate. You too are fortunate because you too love Baba. You must not feel sad if you are not allowed to be with your mummy and daddy for the Mehrabad Sahabas, because all Baba's loved children are constantly in his Sahabas. Baba sends his fond love to you and to your dear mummy, daddy, and all who love you. Yours lovingly, Erich. Merwan's response to this letter was quite simple. Even at age 10, he was already devoted to Baba and knew that a no from him was a definite no. End of story. Although Baba had told us clearly from the beginning that Merwan was his, we had never forced Baba on him. Of course, as soon as he was old enough, we had begun telling him about Baba, and he had the advantage of being in Baba's physical presence from time to time. But we also allowed Merwan to go to the fire temple where the Parsis worship with other members of the family, and he had his Navjot performed according to Parsi tradition. Within just a few months of his Navjot, however, Merwan had stopped wearing the kusti, and shortly after that the sadra as well. When we noticed this, Adi asked him why he was not wearing them. He replied, You and Mum do not wear them. He was right. We had no answer. However, Adi told him that it was all right if he did not want to wear the symbols of the Parsi religion, but he needed to make a decision so that he wouldn't miss out on a spiritual life altogether. Of course, Merwan chose Baba. A few days after Adi had gone to Mehrabad, word came from Baba calling me to come. I left Merwan with my cousins in Panchgani and went with a joyous heart, grateful to be able to be with my beloved once again. The Sahavas began on 16 February 1958, divided into two segments according to language groups. The Gujarati group was in the second half. Soon after our arrival, it was now announced that Baba wished all of us to leave Mehrabad on 26 February. Although Mehrabad had no railway station, arrangements had been made for Scola, a special train to stop there so that all of us could leave on it together. My birthday was on 27th February, and I very much wanted to have Baba's darshan on that day. So I sent a request to Baba through Erj asking that Adi and I be allowed to stay one more day. A call soon came for us. Adi Rhoda, wanted by Baba. We hurried to the room where Baba was resting after the morning program. His eyes were flashing and we could see the anger on his face. The moment we stepped in, Baba said, "What is this I hear about you wanting to stay one day more?" I tried to explain, "Baba, my birthday's on the 27th and I would like to have your darshan on that day." Baba interrupted me. "In spite of my asking you to leave on the 26th, if anybody else," he made a wide sweep of his hand to indicate the crowd outside, "had made such a request, I wouldn't have taken the time to call and explain to them. But because you are both of my household, I have taken the trouble of calling you to tell you that it is my wish that all must leave on the 26th. Scroll. Hearing Baba's words, "You are both of my household," brought such joy to my heart that my desire to stay another day vanished. Oh, nice picture again of Adi carrying a chair with Baba in it. Mehrabad, 58 Sahavas, Adi Dubash on Baba's right. 19, and then a picture of the women, 1958 Sahavas, Rhoda standing behind Baba. I blurted out, "We are sorry, Baba, to have caused so much trouble. We will do exactly as you wish and leave on the 26th. Baba's anger was gone on a flash. He looked at us with eyes full of love as he repeated, "I want you both to leave on the 26th. And the compassionate father opened his arms to his erring children and embraced us lovingly, then asked us to bow down to him before leaving. The scene of our leaving by the special train is captured in the film Happy Birthday, Baba. The train came to a stop in Mehrabad, and since there was no railway platform, we women were literally picked up and thrust into the compartment by the men. And as the train was about to leave, someone began to shout, 'Baba is coming! Baba is coming down the hill!' We all rushed to the windows. As the train started, there was the beloved waving to us, pouring out his love and benediction to all of us who were leaving by the special train, gesturing to us, 'Take me with you.' If we had disobeyed Baba's order and stayed the extra day, we would have missed participating in this glorious moment with Baba and would have missed his blessing." Next reader.
Shall I read?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The lesson of obedience is one we humans apparently have to learn over and over. And if one sincerely wants to obey Baba, absolute honesty is necessary. It may be possible to fool the world, but it is not possible to fool him. I learned this lesson through an incident having to do with keeping a fast. From time to time, we used to receive circulars from Baba. giving specific orders for his lovers all over the world. There was a time when he wanted us all to keep silence for a month. Another time, a circular came saying that husbands and wives should live together as brothers and sisters for 3 months. Then he extended the time to 6 months, then to a year. And during these periods, other circulars would come with orders for fasting, sometimes just for 24 hours. But once a request came that men should fast for 21 days and women for 5. Of course, the 5 days were not compulsory, but that was Baba's wish. It was for us to decide whether or not to obey, and in this case, he had left the choice to us. We could fast for 1 day or for 5. When the circular arrived, I decided I would fast for all 5 days. I got through the first day successfully, and the second day as well, continuing to perform my job. At that time, I was teaching private English lessons to foreign diplomats. On the third day, one of my students, not knowing that I was fasting, offered me a plate of delicious-looking cakes. It was 2 days after Christmas, and she had made them herself. "Please, Mrs. Dubash, try these cakes," she said, excusing herself and leaving the room for a few minutes. So there I was, all alone in the room, with the plate of cakes in front of me, tempting me. They'd made my mouth water, and I couldn't keep my eyes off them. "How delicious they look," I said to myself. "I must have one. No one will know that I have eaten it. There is no one here to witness this act, so I can still say that I fasted for 5 days." I reached out and picked up a cake and immediately dropped it back on the plate. Who is it that I am trying to fool? I thought. Meher Baba, God Almighty? And with that thought, the crucial moment passed, and with it the temptation. What had stopped me from falling prey to temptation? What had stopped me? I had felt Baba's presence, and I remembered that the fasting I had undertaken was to please him. I had to teach my class for an hour in that room with the cakes still there, but they no longer held any attraction for me. Nothing, however, escapes the all-knowing. 1 year later, at Christmas, the same student brought to the same room a tray of cakes she had made, and they looked just as tempting as the cakes had looked the year before. She put the tray on my desk and said, "Please help yourself, Mrs. Dubash." Now, this time I was not fasting, so I happily stretched out my hand, selected one, and took a big bite. It was the worst cake I had ever tasted. I had a whole mouthful. I couldn't swallow it, and I couldn't spit it out. Again, I felt Baba's presence. Okay, Baba, I thought, I've learned my lesson. Now, please give me an out so I can spit this cake somewhere. But Baba just left me to my own resources as I tried to gulp it down. He wouldn't let me off lightly for having even thought of trying to fool him. Even though Adi and I love Baba wholeheartedly and were absolutely dedicated to him, we were still finding ways to make him more consciously a part of our daily lives. Late one evening in Karachi, we were talking, and I suddenly had a thought. "Adi," I said, "how many times did you remember Baba today?" "I'm asking you because I was just sitting here wondering how many times I remembered him today." And do you know, Adi, I was shocked. Maybe 2 or 3 times. Recently, Baba had asked a few of us to write letters to him. And in my letter, I told Baba that I loved him above everyone and everything. Was this how I loved him? Remembering him only 2 or 3 times in an entire day? Adi scratched his head, trying to recall. "Maybe 3 or 4 times," he said. "Is that all?" "Yes." "Adi, we should do better. I'm going to try tomorrow to remember Baba more. This seems rather odd to me today, as now remembrance comes naturally. But in our earlier days with Baba, that was not the case. The next day, I remembered Baba maybe 4 or 5 times, as did Adi. But that still wasn't enough. "Adi," I said the following night, "we must try to bring Baba more into our lives and not get so engrossed in worldly affairs." Adi sat quietly for a moment, then said, "You know, I remember something that happened during the 3 incredible weeks when Baba called his Western disciples to stay with him. One day, Minu and I and the others were sitting with Baba in the shade, and Baba said to us, 'I tell you with my divine authority, if you remember me at the time of dying, you will come to me. But how can you do that? Only if you start remembering me now. Then automatically you will remember me when you are dying.' He told us we should start with the morning, remember him as soon as we get up, and again at 12 noon. He said, do it simply, just for a few seconds, as long as it takes to adjust your tie. And again at 5 o'clock in the evening, and then as the last thing before going to bed at night. If we would do that, Baba said, we would remember him when we were dying. You know, I was there, I heard, but I thought it was meant only for the Westerners, not for us. Oh, Adi, how could you think that way? Here's the reason. Baba knows that we need help to bring him more into our daily life. Adi, let's do it. Adi agreed. We started trying to remember Baba at those 4 times, and then we would report to one another in the evenings. Thinking of Baba first thing in the morning was easy, but at 12 noon, everyone is at work busy. And yet, if you are determined to remember Baba, you will think of him and look at your watch. You may find it's only 11, so you remember to try again later. I was a teacher, and in the midst of teaching a class, I'd think, time to remember Baba. Then I'd look at my watch and think, oh, only 11:20. Then I'd think again, and maybe it would be nearly noon. Of course, you don't neglect your work, you do your work, but your heart is with Baba. Maybe the next time you look, it's 12:15, and you may think, oh, I missed. But it doesn't matter, because every time you do this for a few seconds, you send your heart to Baba and then continue with your work. The same thing would happen at 5 o'clock. Sometimes I would realize that I was half an hour late in remembering Baba. And the same thing happened with Adi. It would be impossible to be right on time at the beginning. But the time comes when something inside pushes you to look at your watch and you discover that it is 12 or 5 on the dot. This practice became most enjoyable for both Adi and me, and we discovered that it brought us closer to Baba because we thought of him often, a way of bringing him into our lives, no matter what we happen to be doing at the moment. This remembering Baba brought such joy to us that we thought of other ways to remember him. When you are making a cup of tea, just before you drink it, remember Baba. Or when you're sitting down to play cards, or before you start a game of tennis. Baba helps you if silently in trouble or in pleasure, you reach out to him throughout the day. Even at parties where in the beginning we would not have thought of Baba, we learned to remember him. One time when I was having lunch with Baba and the women, Baba asked me if Adi drank liquor. Yes, Baba, I said. I had to tell the truth. But I was thinking, oh dear, that's finished. Adi's going to get an order. Then I continued, but not regularly, Baba, only when he's very tired or when we are at a Parsi gathering, a wedding, or other celebration where hot drinks are served. In Gujarati, hot drinks are ones with alcohol. And when we are given a drink, Adi and I always search the party until we have found one another and we drink a toast to your health. At these words, Baba smiled from ear to ear, and the matter was finished. So now we are bound to drink to Baba's health. It may seem unnatural for people to think of God while they are at parties, but if we bring Baba into our pleasure rather than calling on him only when we are in pain, life becomes much more full and beautiful. Okay, end of the chapter. I guess we could have another reader.
Eva, would you like to read?
Sure. Chapter 6. During the early 60s, we were able to spend much more time with Baba than we had been able to in the past. In May of 1960, Adi, Marwan, and I came to Pune, where Baba was staying at Guru Prasad. the summer palace of the Maharani of Baroda. She had graciously given the palace over for Baba's use. Whenever we went to see Baba, we just went. We never knew how long he would allow us to stay. In the past, we had sometimes been with him for only a day, but on this occasion, we were in Pune for 6 weeks, staying at hotels or with relatives. We had the opportunity to spend a great deal of time in our beloved's presence at Guru Prasad, as we were usually there from about 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. This was one of the most beautiful times we ever had in beloved Baba's company. Then in 1962, we received a circular from Baba saying that he was having a darshan program for both his Eastern and Western followers at Guru Prasad from the 1st to the 4th of November that year. We greeted this news with joy, although there was one problem about which we wrote to Baba. Merwan's Cambridge exams, his final high school examinations, were coming up later in November, so we weren't certain that he should attend. Baba replied, saying that Merwan should come, even if for only 2 days. Merwan was, next page, overjoyed and immediately put his mind to his studies. He stayed behind with a relative in Karachi when Adi and I left at the end of October, as we were working as volunteers. Merwan was to join us for the first day of the Darshan program, which came to be known as the East-West Gathering. Our duty was to take charge of the Westerners staying in one of the hotels and make certain they were at Guru Prasad each afternoon in time to receive Baba's darshan. When Merwan arrived, he was also put to work, running errands and helping to control the lines of people waiting for darshan. He had thought that since the programs were held only in the afternoons, he would be able to study in the mornings. But on the first morning, Baba told us he wanted Merwan to come all day for the 3 remaining days. So there went his studying. The first day of the East-West Gathering dawned bright and sunny, but both that day and the next, Baba kept saying, hurry up, it's going to rain. And sure enough, both days it poured. All the people gathered at Guru Prasad for Baba's darshan were completely soaked. Baba insisted that the Westerners change into dry clothing, but the volunteers had no time to change. Nevertheless, we had several glorious days in Baba's company. And scroll down. Although Merwan left after 4 days to return to Karachi, I waited until after the gathering to go back, while Adi and Mummy, who had also come for darshan, went to Bombay. Within a few days of his return, Merwan became very ill and started running a high fever. The first diagnosis was a throat infection. I informed Adi in Bombay, and he informed Baba. Baba sent the same cable to me in Karachi and to Adi in Bombay. Whatever happens, don't worry. Be resigned to my will. Tell Merwan not to worry if he cannot appear for examinations. Baba also instructed Adi to come back to Karachi to help me care for Marwan. When we received Baba's cable, we both thought that Marwan would not be able to take his exams. Our fears increased as Marwan's temperature continued to rise, and he was eventually discovered to have developed measles. The news of Marwan's illness and the possibility that he might not be able to prepare for his exams began to spread throughout the Parsi community in Karachi. And many people were very critical of Adi and me for being so foolish as to take Marwan to see Baba at such an important time in his academic career. The first day of the exams, which were scheduled to take place over the following 3 weeks, arrived, and Marwan did not appear. I was very anxious and phoned the doctor to ask if it might be possible for him to write the exams in isolation. To my great surprise, the doctor informed me that the quarantine period was over and Marwan might now appear for the exams. But now another problem was facing us. Marwan had not been able to study for the previous 3 weeks, and he was still not feeling very strong. We weren't sure that he should even make an attempt. Marwan, however, was both confident and very eager to try. So we got permission from the school principal for him to begin the exams late. He had already missed the first 2 papers. There were 6 left to go. Baba timed everything perfectly because the marks for only the top 6 papers would be counted. And since Marwan had taken 8 subjects, he could miss 2. While all this was going on, we received a cable from Baba asking after Marwan's health and quite innocently inquiring whether or not he had appeared for his examinations. And this might be a good place to stop.
We'll just finish the para and stop so we can continue from.
Oh, continue. Okay. The results of the exams took nearly 3 months to arrive. We had some doubts as to whether or not Marwan would pass, as one of the papers he had missed was one of his strongest subjects. And the Parsi community continued to talk about our foolishness in not leaving him in Karachi to study, instead of taking him to India to see Baba. But when the results arrived, they surprised everyone, including all of us. Not only had Marwan passed, he had received a first class.
Yeah, we'll end here.
Okay.
On page 80.
80.
Thank you so much, and we can end the recording, and we shall meet next week. No,
Well,
next week. Yeah.
Why don't you just finish the sentence? We haven't finished that one sentence. A first class something.
It becomes a para. Sure.
And was the only Parsi to do so. It was the one and only time he passed first class. Of course, we cabled the news to Baba. He cabled back saying that he was very happy about Marwan's success and wanted to hear the details. So we wrote him a long letter as well. Baba cabled back once again, reminding us that he wanted Marwan to study for his Bachelor of Commerce in Pakistan and then go to England for further education.
Yay, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba. Let's end the recording.
Mhm.